Hello everyone, I am here with a new topic, that is the duodenum. So you are well aware of this diagram and you all know this one is the duodenum. So duodenum starts from here and this portion means the pylorus part of the stomach opens in this particular portion and it extends like this, and after here it opens into the second part of the small intestine, and that is the jejunum, right? How it termed duodenum? Actually duodenum is a Latin word, and literally duodenum means 12 finger. So the length of this whole structure was about 12 finger, that's why it is named so. Here this portion is the first part of the small intestine. Along with the first part, it is the most wide part of the GIT and the most fixed part of the GIT. So this one is the wide, most wide and fixed part of the GIT, or you can say the most fixed part of the small intestine, right? So here it starts right after the pylorus of the stomach. It ascends, or it goes transversely to the left, upside and to the left, then it abruptly descends. After descending a short while, it take a turn and it runs toward the midline. It crosses the midline here and then goes to the left lateral side of the body. And after this, it connects with the jejunum. Right. Let us start some anatomical importance of this structure. So this whole structure can be divided into four parts, right? One part which starts from here, means right after the pylorus, starts from here, then it runs right side, to the right side and to upward. This one is known as the first part of the, this is the first part of the duodenum, right? Here it turns downwards, or you can say it descends, and descends at the level of this. What would be the level of this? Actually, it is located from L1 to L3, lumbar vertebra 1 to lumbar vertebra 3. So this must be at the level of L1 and this must be at the level of L3, right? So this descending portion, that is the second part of the duodenum, right? Then it comes here again and it runs horizontally towards the midline of the body, and this portion is known as the third part of the duodenum. After running and crossing the midline, after running horizontally and crossing the midline, then it turns to the upward, and this particular portion where it turns upward, this is known as the fourth part of the duodenum. So here we can divide the duodenum into four different parts. The one part, first part, which goes to the right and upward, second part which descends down, and third part, here it goes horizontal, and the fourth part, that the last portion of the duodenum which ascends or which runs upward, that is the fourth part of the duodenum. Okay, let's see the length of this particular organ. So complete length of this organ is around 25 centimeter. It can vary from 25 centimeter to even 38 centimeter, but the normal length of this organ, this structure, is 25 centimeter. So here, how can we divide this 25 centimeter into four segments? Number one, this first portion, the length of the first portion is around 5 centimeter. This is the length of this first portion is around 5 centimeter, and the length of this second portion, it may be around 7.5 centimeter, right? And the most long part, the most longest part, that is the third one. It runs horizontally, and the length of this third part is around 10 centimeter. So the last part which ascends upward and to the left, and that portion is around 2.5 centimeter. That portion is around 2.5 centimeter. So this one is 5 centimeter, second part is 7.5 centimeter, third part is 10 centimeter long, and the fourth part is 2.5 centimeter, around 2.5 centimeter long. It may vary, but you can remember this whole numbers: 5 centimeter, 7.5 centimeter, 10 centimeter, 2.5 centimeter in one another very easy way. So here we will this would be 2 inch, this would be 3 inch, this would be 4 inch, and this would be 1 inch. So this way we can remember the length easily: 2, 3, 4, and 1. That is 2 inch, 3 inch, 4 inch, and 1 inch. Right. Okay. Let us talk about the particular um, structure. This one is the first part, and this has a very good uh, clinical importance also. Why? Because anterior to this first portion, there is a very important structure, very crucial structure, and that is the gallbladder. Here, the gallbladder is anterior to this first portion, right? One more thing that you can see in the diagram also, that gallbladder is attached to some part of the liver, or some particular lobe of the liver, and that particular lobe is the quadrate lobe. That's why this portion, the quadrate lobe and the gallbladder, are anterior to the first part of the duodenum. So second one is quadrate lobe of liver. Two very important structure running anterior to the first part of the duodenum. One is the gallbladder, and second is the quadrate lobe of the liver. On the posterior side, there are also some very important structure, and one, that is the bile duct. You can say this bile duct here coming from the upside down, and here it crosses the first part of the duodenum posteriorly. So this particular portion is posterior to the first part of the duodenum, and the second one is the portal vein. The second part is the portal vein. So the portal vein runs behind. Okay, we can note it down here. Anteriorly, anterior to the first part, we have gallbladder. We have gallbladder. Second one is quadrate lobe of liver. Quadrate lobe of liver. And in the posterior aspect of this first part, so we should write here posteriorly. Posteriorly, there is one structure which we can see from here also, that is the bile duct. So one is bile duct, and second one is the portal vein. The portal vein. So posteriorly, number one, the bile duct. Second one is the portal vein, and there is one more important structure running posteriorly to this particular part, and that is the inferior vena cava. That is the inferior vena cava, or we can note it here as IVC, that is inferior vena cava. So posteriorly, three main structure running posterior to this first part of the duodenum, right? Superior to this, there is a very important structure, and that is, we can write here it also, superior the neck of the gallbladder. So superiorly, there is the neck of the gallbladder. So this is very crucial landmark, neck of GB. So superiorly, there is neck of gallbladder, and inferior to this, what will be there? There will be the portion of the pancreas, and which portion? The head, and here the neck. So the some part of the head and neck are inferior to the first part of the duodenum. So inferiorly there would be, we will not write it here, but you can understand. Inferiorly, the part which are inferior to the first part of the duodenum are the head of the pancreas and the neck of the pancreas. So there are many vital or many crucial structures passing around the first part of the duodenum. Okay, now we turn to the second part of the duodenum. Second part, as you can see here, this portion abruptly turns downward. This portion turns downward and runs inferiorly. So, in many structure, or when we will study about the jejunum or the ileum or even the large intestine, one more most common term is a flexor. Flexor. So, what is a flexor? Flexor means when this GIT runs in any direction. Suppose that it runs like this. This runs like this. And abruptly it changes its direction. Like it turns this way, or it turns this way. So abruptly it changes the direction. And when it changes its direction, this portion would be the flexor. This portion would be the flexor. So here in this diagram, you can see there is a one important flexor here. That is because it is situated on the superior side of the duodenum, and that's why it is known as the superior duodenal flexor. Superior, superior duodenal flexor. So where is the superior duodenal flexor? This one. So this one is the superior duodenal flexor. So in other words, we can say that the first part starts from the pylorus of the stomach to the superior jejunal flexor, superior duodenal flexor. First part extends from the pylorus of the stomach to the superior duodenal flexor. And here the second part starts from the superior duodenal flexor to here. Here is also a flexor because this turns this way, runs this way and turns horizontally. It ascends and abruptly it turns horizontally. So here it also make a flexor, and as it was the superior duodenal flexor, this would be the inferior duodenal flexor. This would be the inferior duodenal flexor. So there are two flexors in the duodenum. One is the superior duodenal flexor, where the first part of the duodenum and the second part of the duodenum connects. Second one is the inferior duodenal flexor, where the second part and the third part of the duodenum connects. Right. So the second part extends from the superior duodenal flexor to the inferior duodenal flexor. Okay. One more thing about the second part. This part is very important, as you can see there are glands coming from this side of the duodenum and penetrating the wall of this particular structure. So as you can see, this one is the main pancreatic duct. This one is the main pancreatic duct. And above to this main pancreatic duct, there is an accessory pancreatic duct. This green colored duct is bile duct, or you can see the common bile duct, CBD. Right. So these particular structures coming to drain the second part of the duodenum. Right. One more clinical significance is there, that this portion where the what is here, here is one very important you can say sphincter, and that particular sphincter is known as the sphincter of Oddi. That is the sphincter of Oddi. So above to this sphincter, that is the landmark of which, that is the landmark because duodenum is derived from two different embryological segments. Above from this line, that is the imaginary line we have drawn here, the above this line, this portion is derived from the foregut, and below this portion is derived from the midgut. So there is some part, first part and some part of the second part, that is derived from the foregut, and the third and fourth part and lower part of the second portion, that is derived from the midgut. Right. So we can see the blood supply of this part will be also will be different. This part will be supplied by different vessels, and this part will be supplied or even drained by the different vessels. So the sphincter of Oddi is the landmark between the foregut and the midgut. Right. Here, these all ducts comes and drain the fluids or the enzymes or the alkaline content into the wall of the stomach. So that's why this second part is more important. Now we come to the third part. So the third part starts from where? It starts from the inferior duodenal flexor. It starts from the inferior duodenal flexor. And from the inferior duodenal flexor, it runs horizontally and to the midline. Okay. So from here, the all the portion are from the to the right side of the midline. These all portion are to the right side of the midline, and here it crosses the midline and it runs towards the left. So this portion crosses the midline. The significance of this portion is this portion crosses the midline, and as this crosses the midline, it also crosses some very important structures. So what are the main structures lie in the midline of a vertebrae? There would be vertebra, there would be abdominal aorta, there would be inferior vena cava. So these are the basic important structure which lies just to the left or right of the midline. So it crosses these three portions, that is the vena cava, the aorta, abdominal aorta, and the vertebral column. Here this portion ends where this duodenum runs upward, right? So from here to here, this portion is known as the third part of the duodenum. One more thing which I should tell you, that the third part of the duodenum Anterior to this third part, anterior to this third part means the structure passing anteriorly to this very important structure. One is the superior mesenteric artery and superior mesenteric vein. So the superior mesenteric artery and superior mesenteric vein passes superior mesenteric artery and superior mesenteric vein passes anterior to this, right? So it is like posterior to these vessels. Now the fourth and the last part starts from the where it starts ascending, and it ends here where it meets the jejunum. And there is also a flexor, because this structure would go like this. From here this structure would go like this, and it forms a flexor here. And this particular flexor is known as the, because this flexor connects the duodenum to the jejunum, and that's why it is called as the duodenojejunal flexor. It is called as the duodeno duodenojejunal flexor. So the last part of the duodenum ends at duodenojejunal flexor. So we came to three main flexor. One was the superior duodenal flexor, second one was the inferior duodenal flexor, and the last one was the duodenojejunal flexor. Okay, let's see about the one more thing. In the second part, just above this sphincter of OD, there are some specific glands which is situated in the wall of the or submucosal mucosal area of the duodenum. Very important or very specific glands, specific as they are found only in the wall of the duodenum, and they are known as the Brunner's gland. These are the Brunner's gland. That was a scientist, and the glands was on the name of that scientist. These glands are Brunner's glands. So as you can see, there some of vessels are coming from the liver and gallbladder and from the pancreas, and they are containing some specific kind of enzymes. And along with the enzymes, these vessels contain alkaline fluid, and the alkaline fluids help to normalize or neutralize the acidic environment of the duodenum. Here the Brunner's glands also contains some specific secretions, and more important, one important secretion is the mucus. So the mucus of this gland, it also helps to protect the layer of the duodenum. One more thing, this mucus, this secretion also contains bicarbs. This also contains bicarbonates, and this bicarbonate also help in regularizing or neutralizing the environment of the lumen of the duodenum. And third most thing, this the secretion of the Brunner's gland contains epidermal growth factor. More important, epidermal epidermal growth factor. So what does this secretion do? The epidermal growth factor inhibits the activity or inhibits the structure, the secretion of the parietal cell as well as of the chief cell. So The Brunner's gland situated in the mucosal wall of the second part of the duodenum above the sphincter of Oddi, above the sphincter of Oddi, and these glands secretes mucus which protects the layer of the internal layer of the lumen of the duodenum. Second one, it contains bicarbs which help to neutralize the environment of the lumen. And third one is epidermal growth factor, and epidermal growth factor inhibits the secretion of the parietal and chief cells. That's why they inhibit or they control the secretion of the stomach, because now the food is here in this lumen, and we have no urgency or we have no requirement of the secretions of the chief cell and the parietal cell. That's why these secretion may be inhibited along with some other factors, also by the epidermal growth factor, right? Let's come to the blood supply of this part. As we have told you earlier that this portion, uh, whole the stomach, is actually derived from the two different embryological portions. Above to this sphincter of Oddi, here is the portion which originates or develops from the foregut, and this lower portion which develops from the midgut. So there would be two kind of supplies will be there. This portion will be supplied by some other vessels, and this portion would be supplied by some other vessels. So there are two sources of blood supply. Number one is the gastroduodenal artery. One is the gastroduodenal artery. As we saw in the blood supply of the stomach, that gastroduodenal artery arises from the common hepatic artery. So the first branch is gastroduodenal artery, right? And gastroduodenal artery supplies this portion of the duodenum, and this portion is also supplied by the branch of the gastroduodenal artery, and that is the pancreaticoduodenal artery. That is the pancreaticoduodenal artery. Pancreaticoduodenal artery. However, this artery is branch of the gastroduodenal artery. And the lower segment means the part which is below to the sphincter of Oddi, and that particular part is supplied by the superior mesenteric artery. Superior mesenteric, that part is supplied by the superior mesenteric artery and the inferior pancreaticoduodenal artery. This was the superior pancreaticoduodenal artery, and this one is inferior pancreaticoduodenal artery. So there are two main vessels or two main sources. One is the gastroduodenal artery, and second one is the superior mesenteric artery. The upper portion of the part 2 and first portion is mainly supplied by the gastroduodenal artery and its branch superior pancreaticoduodenal artery. The lower portion, which is the fourth part of the duodenum, third part of the duodenum, and the lower second part of the duodenum, which is supplied by the superior mesenteric artery and its branch inferior pancreaticoduodenal artery. So inferior pancreaticoduodenal is a branch of the superior mesenteric artery, and the superior pancreaticoduodenal artery is the branch of the gastroduodenal artery, right? Let's see the venous drainage of this system. So that's quite easy. Venous drainage is from the, as we have said that there is an inferior pancreaticoduodenal artery, so there would be inferior pancreaticoduodenal vein, but mainly the whole venous drainage is drained by the splenic vein, by the superior mesenteric vein, and by the portal vein, right? So there are three main vessels which drains the whole deoxygenated blood from the wall of the duodenum, and these are: number one, the splenic vein. Splenic vein. Second one is the superior mesenteric vein. Superior mesenteric vein, and the last one is uh, portal vein. So these are the veins and these are the arteries. Right. So that's all for today now. Thank you very much.